Welcome to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlandson and I ask my guests one simple question. Why? Focusing on the importance of why, I share with you the relatable, uplifting and inspiring conversations I have with people from all walks of life. This podcast will encourage you to focus on your why to enable and empower you to achieve the success you desire. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. Before we start, I would like to draw your attention to my weekly email newsletter, Friday Focus. Each Friday, I focus on one topic with one action arising. The link to sign up is in the show notes, or head over to amyrowlandson.com and sign up right now. Today on Focus on Why, I am joined by the wonderful Karen Skidmore. Hello, Karen. How are you?
I am very well. Thank you very much.
Well, I feel really peaceful now because Karen's just lit an amazing candle, which has got lemongrass in it. And I just feel really relaxed and calm now, just watching you doing that.
Yes, I know. The power of Zoom, being able to pass scent from one office to another.
I think it's just the actual act of just slowing down to light a candle.
I know. Well, this is it. I suddenly realised I turned around and like, oh, I haven't lit my candle. It's I like having candles burning. It's it's an energetic process of getting out of my head, and it's been one of those just things that I do, and it helps me. Yeah, it just helps me part of different sessions. So there we go. That's a little bit about candle burning and why I do candles.
So we're in the right space, the right headspace and the right energy. So let's just dive in. What is it you're doing at the moment, Karen? Other than lighting candles, of course.
Other than lighting candles, I have been, I've been working for myself now, running various different businesses for 18 years, long time now. But this autumn, a little bit of a change because I've just taken on another new coach to join my coaching team in our Momentum business growth program. So we now are 4 of us in the team. And it's given me a good kick up the old to go into next year. So it was always part of the plan. It's amazing when you set the intentions of the type of person that you would like to attract, and then they appear. This is certainly my experience when it comes to recruiting top talent people into my team. So we have a new coach, which is then freeing up more of my delivery time, which I'm focusing in my business of developing. So a new thing that we've put out this autumn is my scale scorecard. So I'm getting all geeky again with my digital tools, but a very, very cool diagnostic tool to see how well your business foundations are there for scalability. Some really exciting new projects, new team member, which has allowed me to focus on developing new tools in my business, and new program being launched in January. It's exciting finish to 2022 to go into 2023.
So new coach, new projects, new scorecard, new program, new is the theme here.
It probably is, isn't it? Yes. It has been well overdue. I have been focusing on our signature program. And in fact, to be honest, it's been the only program I've been delivering for 4 years now, which started off as a 4-month program, which is now and has been a 1-year program for 3 years. So we've been focusing on that with the clients, developing the processes, not rinse and repeating, but actually going through every time we go through a new planning cycle. How could we make it better? What else do we need to put into place? So we've been bedding down a program and building it slowly but steadily with extraordinary results with our clients. And this year was the right time, coming into 2023. I knew had to have a little bit of diversity, a little bit of, not just relying on one product that we're selling. So I'm really, really happy with the progress that we've made in the last couple of years. So it is about time. I needed some fresh projects that support our core program. It doesn't distract me. So the idea is that we are building above and beyond, above and below, I should say, because we've built a new offering for people who graduate after a year or 2 years into our mastery program. And so we're sort of, I'm back engineering what kind of support that we can give to people who aren't quite ready for momentum, in that sort of, the 6 to 12 months, and they want to do it, but their business isn't quite at the level. So we're kind of back engineering. So it's I love it. I'm pig in muck at the moment.
Mentioned there that it's designed to support and not distract you. Do things distract you often?
Oh yes, hugely. I am a classic squirrel brain, very creative, and I used to say, and this is why I say I used to say, I get bored very easily. And of course, when you say these things, I get bored so easily, means you're just repeating the mantra. So I've stopped saying that. I said I used to be bored very easily. I need to be challenged. I like being challenged. But the thing about new things, and this has been to my detriment, if I go back 10 years ago, my business was, always creating new stuff and the next new product. And I was creating and selling online courses and 3-month courses and 6-week courses. And no surprise, what I've learned from that is that they don't build on each other. They just become launch after launch after launch. And that's exhausting, really, really exhausting. So I love new stuff, but I also know how distracting it can be when you're wanting to build something, and build with purpose. Jumping from new thing to new thing, it's fun. It's so much fun. But if it's not thought out strategically, and you can get terribly distracted. So I know what distracts me. And create fun in other parts to distract me rather than to the detriment of growing a business and supporting our clients.
And I want to pick up on that wonderful phrase. Obviously, I'm going to pick up on this: build with purpose. Share with me the importance or the relevance for you of what that means.
I think there's the small P and there's the big P. So for me, being on purpose with a small P, where I have a clear vision, the projects that we're working on lead to the next thing. It's been well thought out. So I feel purposeful. I can start a working week with, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing this week. I know what's in the diary. Everything links together, rather than starting the week off going, what shall I do today? and then just reacting, jumping from one social feed to your inbox and back to another social feed. So there's that small P of purpose of having a well thought out plan that we're executing. And yeah, I feel like there's a reason for what I'm doing, rather than just going out there to sell stuff to give me money. There's something that feeds my sense of doing a good job, and giving value. And then of course there's purpose with the big P, which is what is it that I'm doing over and above making money? Because money, of course, is critically important to any business, even social enterprise or charity. If you haven't got money coming in, there's no flow. But I'm not motivated by money. It's that Maslow hierarchy of needs. Once you get to a certain point, as long as I've got money to put food on the table, to pay the bills, over and above that, I'm not terribly motivated. I mean, of course, I love my lovely holidays. And in fact, my husband's more of the 5-star person. I'd be quite happy with an Airbnb. But then I'm very, very grateful. I'm like, yes, I'm really pleased we pushed the boat out and done something nice. But I'm not motivated by it. So it's, for me, I know I have to have a bigger purpose. And that's been lots of things over the years, but certainly over the last 3 or 4 years has been very much around economic potential, particularly of women in midlife and menopause. And when I have that bigger purpose with a capital P, it allows me to take bigger risks, to be more creative with what I do, and not hung up by the fact that, yes, we've got to sell, and we've got to make money. It gives me a reason for, I suppose, getting out of bed when, to be perfectly frank, you have a really, really awful week. When the proverbial hits the fan, and you just go, oh God, I really can't be doing with this. This is awful. Whatever problem might have occurred. If there's a purpose with a capital P, it allows me to go, okay, get on with it. It's just a problem that needs solving. There's something bigger out there that actually needs your attention. Move on. So yeah, purpose for me is an important part of what I do.
And you said that you know that you have to have a bigger purpose. Why do you feel you have to have a bigger purpose?
This comes from understanding my motivational drivers. I'm very motivated towards the word potential. And when I see potential, and this isn't just potential in a business, it's often the potential of the person within the business, the person who is the business. When I see potential, I get excited. And so for that excitement, that's what allows me to be creative and enjoy the work that I do from a professional point of view. So if I didn't have that, if I had to do a job that was, just having to pay the bills, or I just had to go, it'd be, I don't quite sure whether I could. It sounds very dramatic. It'd be like, so like, God, what would be the point of doing it? I'd rather not do anything at all. So for me, that purpose, when I say that I have to have a purpose, I know what tricks me into finding the excitement. Otherwise, I just get bored and just go, well, I can't be bothered. And, what's the point in getting out of bed in the morning?
Yeah, it was. Why do you feel you have to have a bigger purpose? And you answered that.
Yeah, as I say, because I suppose it is a rule that I've given myself to live by. But I think it is. We have one life to live, and who knows what happens to us when we die? Do we come back again as a different person? But no one knows. So we've got one life to live. We have an X number of years on this planet, and I suppose I have that power of hindsight, where I was actually very afraid of getting old as I went through my 40s. And that fear of, oh my God, I'm heading towards the sort of the second half of my life. But actually, I had a reset, did quite a lot of personal development in my late 40s. And then when I actually hit my 50th, I went, oh, yeehaw, right, I'm halfway through now. And I'm 53 now. So I use that element of going, right, I am in my second half of my life. I'm assuming I'm going to live to 100. So I have got less years on this planet than I have lived. And if we put that into context of how I can contribute economically, commercially, that probably boils down to 15, 20 years if I'm lucky, if I still got my marbles together and still got my physicality. So that isn't much left time to be able to do things. So I take that as a very positive and go, right, well, pull your finger out, girl. You can sit and wallow and go, oh my God, the clock is ticking. It's like, yeah, the clock is ticking. So take some risks, do things that challenge you, and enjoy it while you still can. So I have a very different attitude towards aging. At the moment, I'll be interested to listen back when I've said that, maybe in 10 years' time, when I'm in my 60s. But I have a very positive attitude to getting older now.
So this rule that you live by is more than that. It's triggered the reset. It's triggered a focus. It's given you this very clear drive for as you say, the next 15, 20 years economically and commercially. What I want to know is, what are the risks? And how do you know that they are the right ones that you're taking?
Oh God, that's a big question. So I suppose I do live a very privileged life. So when I talk about risks, I talk more in terms of risks to, I suppose, my delicate ego. risks of confidence. So, I'm not in the point in my life where I'm willing to risk my house for a commercial venture. I don't need to do that. Both me and my husband have worked hard, throughout our careers, and husband's wanting to retire in the next few years. So we don't need to risk financially in that. So I suppose risk is more a case of challenging my courage and bravery. Like yesterday, I found myself, and I don't know why I did it, although now I have done it, I'm really pleased. I put myself forward for a pitching competition. And the day on Monday, I was going, why did I do this? I feel sick. This is awful. I can't believe I'm putting myself. And there wasn't, the only thing to win was, it was a fun competition. I wasn't pitching for money. But I had to prepare a minute pitch, and I was in competition with 7 other people. And honestly, God, I was so nervous. Now I've done it. I love it. So it's that kind of risk of actually trying things out that I would normally, probably quite happily shy away from and just go, I don't need to do that. Did it enhance my career? But it raised my ability to see what I can do when I actually put myself on the line, so to speak. So with that context of risk, it is more of a personal risk of what I'm prepared to fail at. And rather than risking my house, pension, not prepared at this stage of my life to be doing that, because I don't need to do it. Okay. And the other question was, what was the question about how big the risk was?
It was, how do you know they're the right risks to take?
That was it. Don't know. And actually, I suppose I'm much more strategic when I do these things, and it's something I've learned in the last few years. And this is the great thing about having now a really good team that works with me, is that I can't take the same risks as I did back when it was just me and a VA, because I could do what I want, and if something failed, it was always just down to me. Whereas now I do. I'm not paying their mortgages, but they give so much to my business, and they give so much to my clients, that if I was to risk something, then it would be letting them down as well. So I do slow down my risk-taking process for sure. But yeah, I suppose I would never really know. And I suppose that's part of taking risks, isn't it?
Well, it goes back to that word, that motivational driver that you have of potential. And you, as you said, putting yourself forward for that competition was all about, what is the potential of myself in this position?
Yeah. So if I was to do that, and it was interesting actually, because somebody else who I recommended to come along and join me on the stage, the virtual stage, she posted about it on LinkedIn as well, because we all had to vote. So there must probably really, I don't know how many people online, no more, probably about 50 or so. But the idea is that we all did a minute pitch. I did a pitch for the charity that I an ambassador for, the Hunger Project. So it wasn't a pitch for my business. I pitched for the Hunger Project, and to speak to women who wanted to become an unleashed woman to be an investor in the Hunger Project. So I did it for the charity that I support. But there was probably about 50 people online. And in fact, actually, then it came up to say, because we could all vote. And it crossed my mind that I could vote for myself, but I went, no, the good girl tendency came in, and I voted for the person who I thought did the best. And actually, he ended up winning. And she voted for herself, and that really challenged me as well. So the risk of thinking, well, if I can't vote for myself and I can't back myself, how would I expect other people to vote and back me? So it was a really interesting experience. I learned so much from that, but it was a massive risk. I haven't put myself up for a pitching competition before, and learning how to pitch is really quite scary. It's one thing having sales conversations and marketing and doing Facebook Lives or webinars. That to me has always been a very safe, that's something I've been doing for years and years and years. But to actually have a timer, and you have you have 60 seconds. And if you have not finished your pitch, the klaxon goes off, which it did for one person. Yeah, that's you're putting yourself there in a very visibility, up against other professionals, and the standard was incredibly high. So I think it's those kind of risks, and you never know. That's the whole point of taking risks, is that you never quite know how they're going to pan out. And I suppose that's the fun of it, really.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can actually get across in a minute when you pack it down and when you really think about the importance of your message. And I'm really curious because you chose to talk about a charity, chose to talk about the Hunger Project and how people could get involved, how they could unleash their potential by becoming involved. Now, there are many different charities. There are many different ways that you could demonstrate your role as an ambassador. Why, number 2, the zero hunger of the sustainable goals, the UN sustainable goals, did you choose the Hunger Project?
The Hunger Project has been a charity that I've known of for quite a while. For those people who don't know about the Hunger Project, it was founded in 1977. It's been going for many, many years. And the wonderful thing about the Hunger Project is that it's not a hands out charity, it's a hands up. So what it means is that you don't give money to the Hunger Project and then the Hunger Project decides how to spend the money. Where if you're talking about disaster charities, that's what they have to do. Well, the Hunger Project really is one of the world's largest female empowerment coaching companies, basically. And they spend the money that we raise for the Hunger Project goes towards giving the money to the countries. And they have grassroots projects across South Asia, Africa, and then the countries decide how to spend that money. And usually it's around empowerment programs for women. And what I've read and what I've researched and found is that actually, if you could give a dollar, a pound to empowering a woman, you're going to get I can't remember off the figures off the top of my head, you're going to get X% far more return on your investment than you're going to give it to a man. And this isn't just because women are, it's not a gender debate. There is strong studies out there, financial and commercial studies that are done, is that prove that when you can actually support a woman in a community, it's the children are more likely to go to school, agricultural productivity increases, basically communities become more sustainable. And so for me, when I look at potential and the work that I do so much with my clients, I call myself a menopause champion as well. And the work that I've done over the years of being more vocal about menopause, which can be a hugely significant health impact on women as they go through midlife, particularly ambitious professionals who are working very hard and high levels of stress. And I look at the potential of women in the UK that are not met because of something like menopause. The Hunger Project, by empowering women, it just matched so beautifully. So for me, when I can see that money can be invested and put towards having more women coming into council positions, local governments, empowering teenage girls that they stay in schools, which then reduces child marriage. For me, for every pound that I raise and give to the Hunger Project, the scalability of that impact is so huge. It's so much more than just giving a woman a chance to go to a leadership workshop. It allows more women to go into local government, girls to stay in school, reduces child marriage. It ripples out hugely. So the more I got to know about the Hunger Project, the more I wanted to get involved. And it was, during 2020, so many charities got hit, obviously with the pandemic and giving to charities. The Hunger Project as an organisation, particularly here in the UK, would often raise funds with events, and of course events just completely gone. So I was asked to get involved and help relaunch Unleash Women. And we now have, I think it's about 35 women who are investing monthly into the Hunger Project. And it's an amazing community that we're building. So if anybody's listening that would like to come and talk to me about how to become an Unleashed Woman, please reach out to me. I'd love a conversation with you and how you can get involved. For me, it boils down to women empowerment, the fact that it's there to reduce hunger. They're not feeding people; they're empowering women to actually step up into leadership positions, which then has an impact on the communities, which then thus reduces the hunger and the poverty cycle. So it's an incredible charity, and amazing things that they've done over the last, what now, 50 decades, 5 decades.
Wow, I'm so glad I just asked you about that, because it's such an incredible project, and it's such an incredible legacy that is, the ripple effects that are going to be happening from that, and many of them that you'll never know, because they'll be so far removed that you just don't hear about them. But knowing that you're contributing in that way makes a massive difference.
And that's, for me, is bringing purpose into my business, because for me, I spent a long time deciding I want to raise money for charity. I want my profits to do good, but I don't know how to go about and do it. And for me, it was a lady called Alison Mackenzie, who you probably Alison, don't you? So I went up to a conference in Edinburgh many years ago, and she's written several books about charity and how businesses can to raise funding. So I learned a lot from her. And then from that moment is I have a process in my business of, if I do this, when that happens, this happens. So I don't have to have it as one more thing to think about. So we have things, for example, if somebody refers a client to us, I put £50 into the impact fund. Our clients do weekly accountability reports, and so to motivate them to submit their accountability reports, I put £2 into the pot for every report they put in. So over the course of the year, several £100s gets raised without me having to decide, how much should I give to charity? And for me, that's so much more motivational for me, rather than thinking, I'm going to give 5% of my profits, which again is another way of doing it. I like to have things in my business so it has a direct impact, because if it then helps motivate my clients to put their accountability reports, it's a win-win. If it referrals, rather than doing shall I send you a bunch of flowers, which is nice, money goes into an impact fund, that just it lands with my clients so much more. So I use that to incorporate the purposefulness of my business. So the charity, the raising money for charity, and me being able to give money out of my business to the Hunger Project is embedded into the processes of my business. And this is what, we do a lot of this teaching with our clients in Momentum as well. For those who want to know how to do that, because it's like one less decision you have to make as an entrepreneur. For me, it's like, it's done. It's fine. It works. I'm raising money, and I don't have to think about raising money. Of course, I review it and I just go, how could we do more? But that becomes more of an annual or 6-monthly review of the strategy. But the day-to-day tactics of being able to raise money for charity, that all happens within the business. There's things that happen that make sure I give.
And I love that you mentioned Alison's name. Alison was on the podcast a while ago now, back on episode 189, and her episode is Leaning In, and it's fabulous. I said, go and check that episode out if you're listening right now. Alison Mackenzie, Leaning In, 189, and it just goes to show how we are always just a handshake away from our connections. They're always just one or two people away, and the impact that can be made from, as you said, you listened to something that she was talking about with charity, you've now got involved, you've now given every pound a purpose in your business, and it's just fantastic to hear. It really is.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I have to pinch myself that it took me a while for the penny to drop, but when I suddenly went, oh my God, it can be this easy. It's the potential of, if every business could take this approach, how easy it would be for even small businesses to be able to feel they were giving. And for goodness sake, if we boy, do we need some more charity focus, with what's going on both in the UK and of course throughout the world. So incorporating that into commercial businesses, for me, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, and I just wish more businesses could could look at how they could do it, because it's often the thing that gets left to, I haven't got time to think about it. It's not business critical. It's not going to make a difference to our profit margins next month. But when you can take a step back and look at, well, how could we do it simply and easily? It's huge, the potential of it. Business as a force for good. Our customers and consumers are expecting it now. It's so important to have that. So even if it's I don't know what charity I'd like to support, do it for commercial reason. It's like it's part of your positioning and branding.
And it's so true. I mean, there really is now a divide between companies that are thinking from a purpose perspective and those that are not, and those that have adopted a purpose-driven mission to their business and those that have not. You see what Patagonia has done in terms of just taking it to the next level and beyond, of how you can run a very successful business from a purpose perspective. So I really do love your piece here about how every business should just take a step back and just have a look at what it is they're doing, and if they're not meeting the needs of their customers and their clients in a way that shows their values, in a way that shows how they are looking to build a legacy beyond just their immediate profits, then 100% this is the moment to do that.
Yeah, for sure, because there are some easy ways when you create the space to think about it.
So with that, you've mentioned the word impact several times. You've also mentioned momentum, and it's the name of your program, I get it. But how are you building momentum in your own life towards the impact you want to make?
Oh, gosh, you asked some good questions. Do you know what comes to mind? Because there is a danger with, as I say, momentum is the name of my program, and if you look at that from what does momentum mean? Is that once you've got that initial energy into movement, it's how do you keep that consistently going? So there is a danger, and again, this is going back to my bad health practices when I was in my early 40s, which perimenopausal, hormone stress. Oh my God, a catastrophe of ill health. There is a danger where momentum can go into push and drive, and so for me, momentum is that natural energy state where you are using the velocity of your movement to go forward, rather than the energy of push, drive, work harder. Okay, that's working. What can we do more? Boom, boom, boom. Because there's no stopping that. And that's that is not good, particularly for those of us in midlife, no matter whether you're male or female. The older we get, the slower thinking we have. It's just our bodies need to have a bit more rest. So for me, generating movement forward is about having that energy of excitement and fun, and feeling like, using that word purpose again, feeling like I've got a purposeful week. The stuff that's in my diary matters to me, matters to the people that I might be speaking to. There's potential of building things together. There's potential of opportunities. So I have to have things that are interest. I've got to be interested. If I start to go a bit new about it and it becomes a job, there's a danger I'm going to just keep pushing and driving for the sake of it, which then is detrimental, in my opinion. So there's that element of interest, and also to balance it, there's got to be some space. So for me to have momentum to go forward is that I have to have what I call white space in my diary, and I talk about this with my clients a lot. Is that when you run a busy business and a busy life, whatever you do, you think of how we've been taught how to greet each other. How are you? I'm great. I'm so busy. Are you? So am I. I'm busy too. The busy paradigm. And there's a real danger, particularly when there are, those of us who are interested in living life on purpose, is that we really do fill our weeks. And people who are successful attract other people who want a piece of them. And so it starts to get get really crazy. So having white space in my diary, spaces, days, mornings, time where I haven't got appointments, where I can actually have that quiet time. And as I say, bringing it back to how did we start this conversation with me lighting a candle? That very act of lighting a candle helps me get out of my head and connect to my heart and my intuition and my gut and the brains that operate below our shoulders, because our logic brain is very powerful, but it's not the only brain that we have in our bodies. We have a very, very powerful heart brain. We have a very, very powerful gut brain. And so for me to have to harness the natural energy forward that's going to be healthy for me to allow me to thrive, I have to have those fire breaks. I have to have those moments where I can catch my breath. I'm taking time out for my health and well-being. I'm going to the gym. I'm going to my yoga. I'm drinking water. I'm thinking about the food I'm eating, because it's got to be sustainable. I mean, that's, I suppose, really to sort of tie that answer together, is that if momentum is not sustainable, it becomes a drive and a push. And you then head for burnout. And when you're burnt out, you're no good to anybody. So you have to be looking after yourself. You have to have that thrivability in your business to make sure that you can go for the duration. And you don't force yourself to have to retire because you've just run out of energy. You've got to close your business down because you've run out of energy. And that for me is like such a waste of potential. So good question.
And again, it came back to potential. It came back to the connection piece. And it's really interesting that you call them fire breaks. And the fire breaks actually prevent the burnout element. So I love that connection with the words as well. And yet you've burnt a candle, you're burning a candle to give you the breaks. I love the sort of synergy with these different elements here. Karen, potential has been the core of this conversation today. And the element of impact, knowing that you are wanting to just slow down to do the great work that you're doing, knowing that that's really important, knowing that you're in the latter part of your life, in the sort of second half, as you described it. What will people know you for when you've moved on?
Oh, you made me feel quite emotional there. I thought I was going to cry. There's oh my God, I just had an autumn leaf tumble of words just come down, and I wanted to grab them and I couldn't quite grab each one. There's the good old, she did her best. That's all I can hope for, really, ultimately, is that she did her best. I mean, no one, I don't want to be thought of somebody who pushed themselves out of extinction. But I think there's also that inspiration. I have I love personality profiles and looking at what makes you up as a person. And one of the things I do know is that I have a catalytic ability in myself that I can spark. So whenever I work on projects, for me, looking at the potential and then lighting the fire, carry on that analogy, is giving the spark. So I would just love it that if people are talking about me on my wake, that they say she sparked that in me. That's where the idea came from. She believed in me, so I carried on. At the time when I thought it wasn't going to work, Karen was there and said, get on with it. Because that to me is the ripples that I know I can do. So that's, I suppose that's what I would love for people to be talking about me in those final moments.
Well, I would imagine that they're saying that right now. This is not something that you need to imagine. This is something that is happening right now, because you are creating those ripples, you are lighting the fire for those people, and you are there for people. You are that catalyst right now.
Thank you.
Karen, how would people reach out to you to get in contact? How will they find you?
I'm on all the usual social media sites under Karen Skidmore, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn is where LinkedIn and Instagram is probably where I hang out the most nowadays. My main website is karenskidmore.com. And if anybody would really love to see the potential of their business, I have this really cool scale scorecard, which you'll find on my website. So come over to karenskidmore.com and take the scale test. And see the potential. That's a really good way to start the relationship. So take it and we can go from there. But yeah, love for people to connect with me on LinkedIn, or find me on Instagram where I do some silly reels at the moment.
Perfect. Well, I'll make sure that all of those links are in the show notes for anyone who's out and about right now. Karen, it has been an absolute delight speaking with you, and I just want to wish you all the best with your momentum of creating the impact that you want to in the world and continuing the incredible charity work that you're doing with the Hunger Project. It sounds incredible, and I'm going to go and look it up myself right now. So thank you. Do you have some final words for the audience, please?
Final words would be is just taking some time out, because what I've learned now, aged just 53, is that the slower I take things and slower my thinking is, the faster and the bigger results I do get. And the world is going so frigging fast right now. And media is hitting us with headline after headline and crazy, crazy things. If you think of what's happened just in the last 2 years, it's really easy to get caught up in the speed of everything. And when you can actually slow down, and I know it sounds counterintuitive, but slowing down really is the new speeding up, because you get to see the real opportunities for growth and the real opportunities for making an impact and a bigger purpose. So yeah, slow the hell down, guys.
How has this conversation had an impact on you? What value have you received from tuning in? What are your reflections with actions? Please take a moment to leave me an Apple Podcast or Spotify review sharing how Focus on Why has made a difference to you today. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. To keep it going, simply connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook or Twitter, or join the Focus on Why Facebook group. All the links are in the show notes. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.